there is a very fluid and very changeable situation going on at West Ham at the moment. This is changing a lot. It's changing not quite by the minute, but certainly by the hour. Don't be surprised if I pop back up on your screens later on today. So apologies in advance. We're not even going to have time to talk to Mrs. ChatGPT, but we'll certainly get her opinions later on in the week. What the hell am I banging on about? Well, as you've no doubt seen from the title of the video, Lopetegui is at West Ham. He's at training ground today, but he's having a meeting. So he went to the training ground, arrived at the training ground with his coaches. It appears he's not taking training because he's going to be involved in a meeting. His coaches are going to be taking training. I believe not the academy staff, as some people have speculated, but actually just his own coaches. He's number 2, he's second in charge, assistant manager. I've never learned all their names. And I think it's shown that I was quite wise not to, because they've not been around for too long, and I don't think they're going to be around for too much longer. I think today is the day. I think Lopetegui will be going today. Whether we'll hear it, whether it'll be announced today, is a different matter. But I think today is the day. We're going to talk through that in just a second. Let me just say that this information has come from ex-West Ham United employee, who, of course, has got excellent contacts at the training ground. Everything I'm going to say, I believe. Everything I've just said, I believe that to be the case. I believe that this is the truth. It's not like one of those transfer rumours that we get from Caught Offside, where we just read it out and think, can you believe this nonsense? I do believe this. It would be doing it a disservice to call it speculation or anything like that. So I do believe that this is actually the case at the moment. Lopetegui's, it's been an interesting situation. It's been very, very changeable. And I think last night possibly didn't help the situation, because Wolverhampton Wanderers, who are our next opponents, they lost, they shipped 4 goals. They got thrashed by Everton, which was quite an achievement, because Everton couldn't hit a donkey's arse with a banjo at the moment. So it put Gary O'Neill under immense pressure. It wouldn't be surprising for me if I do a video, I talk, I record it, and then it probably takes me about 15 minutes to edit it, upload it, do the thumbnail and all that sort of stuff. Sometimes I record a video and I think, how much is going to change during the course of this video? And by the time me talking now, Lopetegui could be sacked, and so could Gary O'Neill. So this could get old very quickly, which is why I'll upload later on. He sort of sounded like he knew it, Gary O'Neill, last night. The reason that is a factor, I think, for West Ham is because I did actually think that, were West Ham watching this game, I'm thinking, oh, hold on a second, maybe this is a good opportunity for Lopetegui to get a win. Maybe it's an excuse for him to, sort of begin the recovery process again. I hoped that wouldn't be the case, but I could understand. Would I do it? No, but I can understand why certain members of the West Ham board might be tempted to do so. It's looking increasingly likely that is not the case. I did when I first heard it suggested, I thought, well, hold on a second. What about if they do sack O'Neill, then they get a new manager in, like Leicester did with Ruud van Nistelrooy, and they get a new manager bounce, and they beat us as well. I think at the moment, particularly Lopetegui's team, they're infinitely capable of beating us, make no mistake about it. But I think probably more importantly, we've got a couple of games coming up after that, Bournemouth and Brighton. I think both of those teams are infinitely capable of tearing Lopetegui's team to absolute shreds. There's no doubt about that at all. I think a decision needs to be made now. And what the last 24 hours, what's unfolded there has been absolutely crazy in terms of all the stories have come out with regard to him basically losing the dressing room. Now, I use that term in its loosest possible sense. I don't think he's lost all the dressing room. Not everybody in that dressing room dislikes him. That's not the case. I think Jared Bowen is still on side, and I think he's grateful for being handed the captaincy. He's trying his best. I'm not going to speak for Jared because I don't know, right? And, rightly so, he keeps himself to himself. And anyone that would attribute any quotes, thoughts or feelings to Jared Bowen is probably lying, to be perfectly honest with you, because he just keeps that stuff private. He keeps that stuff. But you can see from his body language he's unhappy, but he's trying his best. Max Kilman is still on Lopetegui's side, and there are a bunch of players who actually quite like him. This is what you hear. They actually quite like him, but they've just lost all faith in his methods. Is that losing the dressing room? I'm not so sure. However, there are a bunch of players who are quite vocally anti-Lopetegui and very, very loyal to Tim Stuyton, it would seem, as well. And well, I'm actually going to leave their names out of it, but you can probably guess who they are. What we do know is that there was a big falling out between Stuyton and Jean-Claude Todibo, which resulted in Todibo being told to train with the under-21s. It was absolutely humiliating for him. The other thing we hear is that he's not the only person who feels like he's been humiliated by Lopetegui, who apparently is quite, on a number of occasions, has sort of humiliated and shouted at players. I know, you know, what are they? They're all so precious they can't be shouted at. I don't necessarily think it's just that. I think there's a lot of choice and coarse words that are said in the dressing room. I think quite possibly this has gone beyond that. Maybe we shouldn't be surprised by this because, let's be fair, we were told before he even joined that he could have falling outs with people. It certainly happened at Wolves. It certainly happened at Real Madrid. It certainly happened with Spain. I couldn't say about any of the other clubs, but we know that he's an attritional character. It's just not worked out. So I think it's too broad a brush to say he's lost the dressing room. Has he lost any? I think he's lost a lot of, even the players that like him, he's lost their faith in his tactics. I don't think anyone's got much belief in him in a second at the moment. So it's really just a case of whether that stuff has been fed back to the club. And I think when I say the club, it's the people making the decisions. I'm pretty sure it would have done by now. Which brings us on quite nicely. Well, it depends on your feelings on it. Quite nicely to the new, not official bookies' favourite for the West Ham job, but the person most people are starting to think now is going to get that new job, or which is going to be a new job because Lopetegui, it looks like, is going to get the chop very, very soon. Before we go into the details of that, can I please point you in the direction of our Patreon page? I say page, it's not really a page. It's basically our third Hammers Chat channel. One of the reasons that I'm able to sit here and keep you updated, and if Lopetegui gets sacked later on, come back with another video, is because this is our job. We sit here creating content, and we're very, very grateful to do so. There's 3 reasons we're able to do that. Number 1, those annoying adverts you all have to suffer, and I do apologise for them. They bring us in some money. We've our wonderful match sponsors, our video sponsors, our sponsors, ETC Sport, Match Bingo, Manscaped, Surfshark, all of that stuff. Again, they bring in revenue for us, which helps us, myself and Gio, turn this into a job. But lastly, and perhaps most importantly, are our patrons. Basically, the patrons, the best way that you can support Hammers Chat is, as I say, it's like our third channel. So we have loads of videos, a constant stream of additional content, stuff that you won't see on YouTube. We have that going up on our Patreon channel. We'd like to think we're maybe a little bit more. You get a little bit more warts and all on Patreon. Not only do you get the content, you get discounts to our online store. We've got competitions, match giveaways, tickets, signed shirts. There's so much stuff going on Patreon. Go and check it out. We've got a couple of things you can do at the moment. If you go and check out our Patreon page, you can go and have a free trial. You can go and get your first month for half price, because we've got 3 different tiers. But if the top tier is an addict, you can go and get that for half price if you want. But also, if you want to gift somebody Hammers Chat Patron for Christmas, then go and check out the page. You can actually do it. You can actually buy them Hammers Chat Patron. If you don't know what to get them for Christmas, go and buy them Hammers Chat Patron. It's an idea. Go and check it out. The link's in the description below. It says patreon.com/Hammers Chat. But if you just typed Hammers Chat into Google, you'd probably find it anyway. Right. Enough of that. I'm going to talk about Potter. Graham Potter. It looks like this might be the guy. He's so he was at the game. He was at the game against Leicester, which does show a certain level of foresight. And I think when you hear certainly stories that West Ham haven't made up their minds, the fact that he was at the Leicester game would probably show you there's been some dialogue already. So I think perhaps we are not as reactionary to this situation as some might have us believe. You might hear that, hold on, we've just had a panic, we're going to sack him, we don't know if we're going to sack him, and we don't know who we're going to appoint. It would appear that there's been a slightly more cerebral decision behind it. Now, look, Potter is not my first choice. I know I sort of constantly say this. I can't really say anymore. I'd have hired Iraola. That's who I would hire. But what you are going to get with Potter, and I don't want to spend too much time talking about him in case it's not him, you are going to get that switch of style. That he is going to do that. I think Simon Jordan was pretty uncomplimentary about him yesterday on TalkSport, and I would share those reservations. He doesn't necessarily strike me as a leader, and I think that's something that you're going to have to be a strong leader. You need to be a strong character at West Ham at the moment. but he is someone that's used to working under a director of football. And I think the most important thing he's going to have to do is forge a relationship with Tim Stuyton. If he can do that, then we can get somewhere. The other thing I do want to say is I was never of the opinion that anyone was better than David Moyes. I am of the opinion that anybody is better than Lopetegui at this point in time. Certainly. I just don't think he's got what it takes. So I would be far more confident because of the number of excellent players West Ham have got. I do think Potter would keep us safe. And I think the suspicion is that he might be given the remainder of the season. I think that makes sense. And in many respects, I don't mind that. If this is to get us to the end of the season, he gets the rest of the season to impress, I think that's absolutely fine. I think we have enough good players. All he's got to do is put people like Jared Bowen in the correct position, round pegs in round holes, Mohamed Kudus, get the team playing, and I think we'll be absolutely fine. There's enough points for us between now and the end of the season that we'll be absolutely fine. So I'm not against it, but we'll talk about it another time. But just so as you know now, Lopetegui is having a meeting, possibly right at the point you're watching this video. He's having a meeting. I think he's going to probably get sacked today. I'd be very amazed if that doesn't happen, and we'll probably be back later on.